Hello, class. So we will gonna start with our chapter 1 of your book, Understanding the Self by Alata, Kasli, Serafika, and Pawilin. So I hope you do have your book now with you so that you can follow me while I discuss the chapters. Okay, but first, before I discuss chapter 1, I have a question. Why do you think that the GE1 or the Understanding the Self subject is being taught in college? Or bakit nilagay ang subject na ito dito sa kolehiyo at kailangan pa natin itong matutunan? Why? Okay. It is because nowadays, ngayon, yung issue ng self and identity is crucial to you, adolescent. Okay? Crucial daw yung issue ng self and identity. So, this subject is here to help you students to understand the nature and of your identity and other factors that influence and shape your behavior. So this will also help you to improve yourself with when you become second year, third year, or fourth year. So kayo, dahil criminology students kayo, at i-handle nyo in the future yung mga tao, before nyo gawin yun, before kayo makatulong sa iba, kailangan nyo munang i-understand at tulungan yung self nyo. Okay? So, this book has 3 parts. So, the first chapter of this book is about the different perspective or philosophical perspective and also the comparison between the Western and Eastern side. Okay? The chapter 2 of this book is about different aspect that makes up the self, while the chapter 3 or the last chapter is all about the students' issues and concern. So, malalaman nyo to if you have a book. So, dito din naman to sa table of contents. Okay? Okay, let's start with chapter 1, defining the self from various perspectives. So let us first read the lesson objectives. So at the end of this lesson, you students should be able to, number 1, explain why it is essential to understand the self, describe and discuss the different notion of the self from the point of views of various philosopher, across time and place. 3, compare and contrast how the self has been represented in different philosophical schools. And last, examine oneself against the different views of the self that were discussed in class. So this will be our learning objective. So first, let us define philosophy. Okay. So the word philosophy is derived from the Greek words philia, or what you call love, and Sophia, what you call wisdom. And this means the love of wisdom. So philosophy is an activity that people undertake when they seek to understand fundamental truths about themselves, the world in which they live, and the relationship to the world and to each other. Okay? So, because yung philosophy is questioning about the beginning, iba-iba yung kini-question nila. Okay? So, because of this questioning, we stumble into the great thinkers in the history of philosophy. Who are these great thinkers? It is the Greeks. Okay? So, the Greeks were the ones who seriously questioned myths, and move away from them to understand reality and respond to perennial questions of curiosity, including the question of the self. So sila yung nagpe-question talaga sa mga bagay-bagay dito sa mundo. For example, bilog ba talaga yung mundo or flat? Saan ba tayo nanggaling? Mga ganong question, mga deep na mga question. So, next, i-discuss natin yung following different philosopher about sa self. So, the following are the different perspectives of philosophers in their own understanding of the self from ancient times to the contemporary period. Okay? So, before Socrates, kilala niyo ba si Socrates? So, let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, so before Socrates, there is, we have this philosopher who are called the pre-Socratics or the great thinkers. So, sino ba yung mga great thinkers na to? Sila Thales, Pythagoras, Parmenides, Heraclitus, Empedocles, and etc. So these pre-Socratics or the great thinkers were concerned in answering the questions such as what is the world really made of? Ano ba talaga yung namumuo sa world, or saan tayo nanggaling? Paano tayo ginawa? Ganon. Why is the world the way it is? Bakit ganito yung mundo natin? Bakit ganito? Bakit may ulap? May ano? Yan yung mga question nila. And what explains the changes that happen around us? O bakit may climate change? Yan yung question nila. So these pre-Socratics were concerned with these questions. Okay. Next. So these pre-Socratics are seeking explanation about the multiplicity or the diversity of the things in the world, or in short, we call this an arc. So they are seeking explanation about the beginning of the different things in the world. So arc means the source or the beginning class. Okay? So the soul's movement is the ultimate arc of all other movement. Yung soul's movement daw, it is the beginning of all other movement. So arc has no origin outside itself and cannot be destroyed. And arc explains the multiplicity of the things in the world. Next. So, yun na. So, while the pre-Socratics are busy in questioning, di ba, busy sila sa pag-question ng mga iba't ibang bagay-bagay sa mundo. So, they are busy in questioning the beginning of the different things in the world. There is this one philosopher, one man, who questioned the problem about the self. And he is Socrates or Socrates. So, si Socrates, he is the first philosopher who ever engaged in the systematic questioning about the self. He is also the first martyr of education, knowledge, and philosophy. And he was also charged with the corruption of minors and is made to choose between exile and death via the intake of hemlock. So hemlock is a poison class. Next, for him to obtain happiness, one must be full know oneself. So, para maging happy daw tayo, need natin maintindihan or ma-understand yung self natin. He believed that every man is composed of body and soul. And he also died as a martyr that fought against ignorance and narrow-mindedness. So, yung lifelong journey daw ni Socrates or Socrates is to know thyself. Kaya, di ba, sikat siya sa phrase na know thyself. Siya yung nagpauso niyan, class. Okay? So, di ba, he also believed that we are composed of body and soul. So, because this body and soul are the two important aspects of man's personhood. So, the body is the imperfect and impermanent aspect, while our soul is the perfect and and the permanent aspect of the person. Yan na, tandaan nyo yung paniniwala ni Socrates about the self. So let's proceed to the next philosopher, and he is Plato. Sorry. So si Plato is the student of Socrates. So he supports Socrates' idea that the man is a dual in nature, which is composed of body and soul. So naniniwala siya sa ideas ng master niya or master niya or teacher niya. But he added that there are three components of the soul. So dinagdagan niya yung soul. Hinati niya sa tatlo. So these are the rational soul, spirited soul, appetitive soul. So let us discuss the rational soul. Rational soul, reason and intellect to govern affairs. So this rational soul is like siya yung utak tsaka siya yung nagmamanage sa isang tao. While the spirited soul is in charge of our emotion. So it is also the heart of the soul. And then appetitive soul is in charge of our basic needs like eating, drinking, sleeping, etc. So justice in human can be attained if the three components of the soul are working harmoniously. So may justice daw sa soul natin or sa isang tao if these three components of the soul ay kakasundo or nagkakasundo, then the person will become just and virtuous. Next, philosopher. So, Saint Augustine. So, Saint Augustine is entire spirit of the medieval world. So, siya yung religious aspect dito sa philosophy, sa mga philosophers natin. So, he is following the view of Plato but infused Christianity with it, di ba? Si Saint Augustine, he is a religious person. So, gapati imaw or naniniwala siya sa idea ni Plato, pero hinaluan niya na ito ng religious aspect. Okay? Man is of a bifurcated nature. So, man, bifurcated means split class, ha? Okay? So, man is divided into the body and the soul. Okay? So, our body or the body will stay here on earth while the soul will go to heaven. So, body is bound to die on earth, dwells in the imperfect world, and yearns to be with the divine, while the soul is to anticipate living eternally in realm connected with the divine, so capable of reaching immortality. So according to him, St. Augustine, our life goal is to attain this communion and bliss with the divine, living our life on earth with virtue. So ito daw yung life goal natin na makapunta sa heaven or together with the divine. Yun lang yung sa kanya. Next philosopher is another saint. So Saint Thomas Aquinas. So before I discuss Saint Thomas Aquinas, let me ask you this. What makes a person human? Okay, we will answer that later on. So Saint Thomas Aquinas is the most renowned 13th century scholar and stalwart of medieval philosophy. So according to him, man is composed of two parts, the matter and the form. So matter or calls this HYLE, is the common stuff that makes up everything in the universe, while the form or the morph is the essence of a substance or thing, what makes it what it is. Okay, so the body of the human is similar to animals and object, but what makes a human is his essence or our soul. Okay, so the matter is parang body, and then the form is the soul. So iba lang yung um, tawag niya sa body and the soul, pero same lang yung meaning. So ang body daw is like matter, and then the form is the soul. Iba lang yung ano niya, yung tawag. Okay, so what makes us human? It is our soul or our essence. Class. Next. Okay, let's proceed or let's move on to the modern philosophy. So our first proponent is Rene Descartes or Rene Descartes. Who is Rene Descartes? So he is the father of modern philosophy. Okay, he believes that human person is composed of body and what? Soul. Okay. So he claims that there is so much that we should doubt, and the only thing that one can't doubt is the existence of the self. So i-doubt mo na, pagdudahan mo na lahat, yung girlfriend mo, yung boyfriend mo, yung asawa mo, yung kapitbahay mo, yung aso mo, yung kung ano-ano dyan, yung classmate mo, i-doubt mo na lahat yung teacher mo. Pero, sabi niya, wag na wag mong i-doubt yung self mo. Class. Kahit yung sitwasyon mo, i-doubt mo yung situation mo. Kahit anong sitwasyon ka, mag-doubt ka. Pero tandaan mo, wag na wag mo i-doubt yung sarili mo kasi yung sarili mo lang ang makakatulong sa'yo. Wala nang iba. Class? Nanggaling yan mismo sa isang philosopher, ha? Okay? Fighting. So he is well known for his phrase, I think, therefore I am. Okay, so next, he also calls the body extensa. Iba din yung term niya dito. Extensa yung tawag niya sa body. And self at saka yung self is cogito. Okay? So, according to him, body is a machine attached to the mind, and it is the mind that makes the man man. Diba sa mga una-unang philosopher, body and soul daw. Dito naman sa kanya, body and mind. Next philosopher is, next is David Hume. So David Hume is a Scottish philosopher. He is also an empiricism. So what is empiricism? So empiricism is a school of thought that espouses that idea that knowledge can only be possible if it is sensed and experienced. So, yung empiricism is naniniwala sa mga bagay-bagay if na-experience nila mismo or ginamitan nila ng 5 senses. Yung hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, tsaka ano pa yung isa, smelling. Yan. So, he disagrees with all the other philosophers. So, lahat ng naunang philosopher, disagree daw siya. So, one can only know what comes from the senses and experience. Diba? Empiricism nga siya. So, paano mo malaman na may self, hindi mo naman nakita or may soul? Diba? Hindi mo naman hindi mo naman na rinig or na touch. Yan. Okay? So, for example, alam mo na tao si Berto. Pero dahil nakikita mo siya, naririnig, yun yung gusto niyang iparating na nakikita mo si Berto. Kasi alam mong tao siya eh. So, kapag nakita mo siya at narinig or na-touch, tao talaga siya. Pero, kapag nakita mo si Berto, tsaka pag ganun mo sa kanya, tumagos yung kamay mo, ghost yon. Charot, joke lang kas. Okay? So, basta, kapag nakikita mo, pag ginamitan mo ng five senses at na-experience mo talaga, yun yung paniniwala ni David Hume. Alam niyo yun, class. No further explanation. Okay? Next. Sorry. Next, the self is nothing else but a bundle of impression. So, what is impression? Okay. So, according to David Hume, impression is the basic objects of our experience or sensation. It forms the core of our thoughts. Ano naman daw yung idea? So, ideas are copies of impression, not as real as impression. So, for example, if we analyze yung experience natin, if we analyze yung experiences natin, ito daw ay makakategorize sa dalawa, impression and idea. Okay? For example, ng impression. If one touches the ice cube, the cold sensation is an impression. Why? It is because it is vivid and the product of our direct experience. Kasi ikaw mismo on hand mo na experience yung cold sensation na yon na pag-touch mo sa yellow or sa ice. On the other hand, ano naman yung idea? So, di ba, ito yung copies of impression. For example, nag-imagine ka ng feeling ng pagiging in love when in fact, you didn't experience being in love at all. Okay? So, yun ay kinapi mo lang yung impression ng ibang tao, yung feeling niya na pagiging in love. Kumbaga, inimagine mo lang na ganito yung feeling na in love. Kasi ikaw mismo on hand, hindi mo na-experience mismo yung pagiging in love. Kasi wala kang jowa. Sad. Joke lang. Basta, yun. Yun yung impression tsaka idea. Yung idea, parang imagination mo lang yan, class. Pero yung impression talaga na experience mo. Okay, clear? Next, the self daw is the bundle of collection of different perception which succeed each other. And last, man want to believe that there is unified coherent self, soul, and mind, but in reality, it is all just a combination of our experiences. So, lahat ng ito is a combination ng experiences lang natin. Okay? Next, Immanuel Kant. So, he agrees with everything that he agrees with Hume that everything starts with perception and sensation of impression. Nag-agree siya kay Hume. So, sabi niya, there is a mind that regulates this impression. So, yung mind daw natin nagre-regulate sa mga impression na to or experiences natin. So, for example, time and space are ideas that one cannot find in the world, but it is built in our minds. So, di ba? Alam naman natin, hindi naman natin makikita yung time and space, pero nakatatak na ito sa mga ulo natin. So, next, the self organizes different impression that gets in relation to his own existence. And we need active intelligence to synthesize all knowledge and experiences. And the self is not only personality, but also the seat of our knowledge. Okay? Next philosopher is Gilbert RYLE. According to him, he denies the concept of internal, non-physical self. O, dinay niya naman. For him, what really matters is the behavior that a person manifests in his day-to-day life. So, yung self natin is yung experience natin. Yung behavior natin. So, looking for the self is like looking for a university. Ano yung meaning nito? Di ba napaka-complicated? So, for example nito, so sinasabi niya, kasi di ba yung university is made up of buildings, administrator, teachers, classrooms, students, faculty and staff. So, ito yung nagfo-form sa isang university. Yung university mismo, hindi mo makikita na yung university talaga. Pero, it is the student, the teacher, the administrator, the classroom, the buildings, the library, yan yung nagme-made up ng isang university. So, parang ganyan din daw yung paghanap sa self natin. So, the self is not an entity that one can locate. Hindi mo daw malolocate yung self and analyze, but simply the convenient name that we use to refer to the behavior that we make. So, yung self natin is hindi ito daw malolocate at ma-analyze. But ito lang daw yung name na pinangalan natin sa behavior natin na ginagawa natin. Yan yung sabi ni Gilbert Ryle. Kaya dinenay niya yung self. Kasi behavior lang daw yun. Yung ginagawa natin. Hindi daw. Yung self lang daw is a name. And next, last one. He is Merleau-Ponty. Okay, next. He is a phenomenologist who says that the mind-body bifurcation, ano nga yung bifurcation? Split is an invalid problem. So, the mind and the body are inseparable, and one's body is his opening towards his existence to the world. So, the living body, his thought, emotion are all and experiences are all one. So, the mind and the body is one. Yan lang yung kasimple ng idea ni Merleau-Ponty sa self. So, yun na yung last na philosopher natin, class. So, any question? If you have a question, please comment down below or chat me if you have any question. And if you want to have a further reading, you can read your book because lahat ng discuss ko na ito, dito lang lahat sa book. Linagay ko lang sa PowerPoint. Okay, thank you class and have a blessed day, everyone. Good night. Good night, good morning.